Hello, everybody. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. I hope everyone enjoyed Order My Steps, a wonderful, beautifully written, beautifully directed project that is so relevant to today's world. Thank you guys for joining me here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So, for viewers that will watch later on or even jump on at some point, we are going to have a two-part interview. This is the first part, and we will have the second part after 6 p.m. today. So, if I could just have you guys introduce yourselves, let us know a little bit about how you got involved with this project and what your role is in this production. Maybe Augusta?
Sure. So I'm Augusta Palmer. I'm the director of the film. And I started watching this project as a Zoom play, which was written by Catherine Grant and starred Carla Brandberg. And so I was really impressed by it. It sort of had several iterations as a Zoom play. And so when Kate told me she was thinking about making a short film out of it, I was thrilled to come on board as a director.
Wow. Carla?
I played Peg, like Augusta just said. I started with the project when it was a Zoom monologue, basically. Right, Kate? It was monologue, right? I mean, we had the screen, we had the typing back, but there was nobody else on the screen anyway. It was written for Zoom, and I've been with it ever since. And when Kate asked if I would like to work on the film, because it was being turned into a film, I was totally flattered and excited. And so that's how I was doing the film.
Awesome. Eva?
I'm Eva Minamar. I'm the producer of Order My Steps. I came onto the project after all of the Zoom plays. I know Catherine Grant through the Actors Studio, where we're both members of the Playwright Director Unit, and had worked with other members of the unit on short films. So it came by recommendation and referral. And I was very excited to see how we can transfer this into a film, because things that are plays don't necessarily play very well in that medium. And going through COVID and having to connect with people on this Zoom world and be talking to people and looking at people, and how do you create a visual medium that comes to life that people can connect with? So it was a great challenge that we wanted to tackle. And I was excited that it was an all-female team, because you don't always have an all-female team representing a strong issue for females, specifically what's going on in female prisons. So this was something that my production company was very excited about coming on board.
Catherine, last but not least.
Well, this did begin as a play, and the play was inspired by a number of things. First off, I got a call from a theater company saying, "Oh, we need Zoom plays. We have, we're dying here. Help us out." And by the way, I got that call from a number of theaters. People were really desperate to remain relevant and to be in the public eye. As you know, Charles, I'm sure it was a tough time for artists. And so at the time, I was reading a short story by Edith Wharton called A Mother's Recompense. And it was about a mother who was a woman in high society, as Wharton's novels often examine, cast out of the circle of her society because she had an affair. And of course, the father took custody of the child. The women really had no power to exert in the way women do now. It's not perfect, but it's better. And so I became really, I found this, the daughter reaches out to the mother and tries to arrange a reunion. And this is long after the child is not a child, is a grown woman. And just the kind of the fraught territory of this reunion was just, really exciting to me. So I said, well, let's see, where am I going to place this? It's, it's not an adaptation clearly, but it was inspired, the idea. So how am I, what am I going, where am I going to place these people? And because I've always had an interest in stories surrounding incarceration. I've written several plays that examine incarceration. I've taught in facilities. For some reason, this world, it's sorrowful, but it's so constrained. And so that's immediately dramatic. The constraints create that pressure and tension. So I'm drawn to that. And so I wrote this one act, which then became at ARTC, American Renaissance Theater Company, for them. And then I enlarged it to a full length play and was done at the playwright and directors unit at the Actors Studio. And then, somebody said to me, this would make a great film. And I thought, well, you know what? Someone said to me, don't waste your 60s. So I'm like, I'll make a movie. I never did, but I'm going to do it now.
Wow. So this is your writing debut for a film.
For a film. Yeah. I've written screenplays before, but never had it produced. I have something that's in development out in Hollywood, but it hasn't been produced.
But what a debut. What a debut. So it's when I say it's a relevant project, it is. This film hit me differently. Sorry, there's a little out of focus thing. This project hit me differently. I worked in juvenile corrections when I was younger, and the incarcerated people that I worked hands-on with for the most part, they were such unique individuals. They all had a story to tell, and they were all there for. They all had hopes and dreams, and they all had their own circumstances that, of wanting to go home. And a lot of times they felt safer in those institutional environments than they did on the outside. So it's a whole psychological aspect that people don't really dig into. And Carla did a beautiful job of conveying this character primarily with herself. A lot of times you have to bounce off performances with other actors. Doing these Zoom type things is something that we've seen a lot with the Catskill International Film Festival throughout COVID. There's been a lot of Zoom projects that were submitted, but very few were accepted because they didn't use a creative eye when doing it. This film felt natural. It felt like an experience. And I want to jump into that a little bit with Carla. What was it like to perform scenes like this, where you had to build up your emotions and stamina and keep it going? But were you actually rehearsing with someone watching, or how was that? Was it just a self-tape, or how did you do this?
Well, when we first presented it as a Zoom reading in our workshop, American Renaissance Theater Company, since it was a reading, I had the script on the screen and I was reading. I had been rehearsed, but looking at, because it's a blank screen, because the daughter is not showing herself. So Peg is just seeing what the daughter types in. So that wasn't crazy to imagine, because I wasn't really seeing anybody anyway, just a lot of inner work. Like I said, there was nobody I was looking at. So when you're not looking at anybody, your mind, just a blank screen, and you're seeing typing, and you don't even know what the person looks like now, because she hadn't seen her in so long, and she's grown up by now, her daughter. It leaves you in a space of unreality, but real at the same time. You're in your head, but you're out of your head, and you're trying to communicate with someone you can't see their face, so you don't know how they're responding, except the texts that come back, and if they're clipped or very protective texts, you're realizing, oh, okay, I don't want to talk about that. And the feeling of not being, it was all in what I was reading, the responses.
Yeah, I can imagine it being a little bit challenging to convey a performance like that in the moment. because a lot of actors they rely heavily on their co-stars, and that's something that you really didn't have. So to do that, I mean, kudos to you. I mean, you did a good job, but at the same time, I never felt like it was a performance. I felt like we were watching somebody, and it was very heartbreaking at times to watch. You go through these motions through every message, and did well. But like I said, it's hard to imagine not being able to rehearse that. And was this something that you did different iterations? Like everything you were saying in this film, was this all scripted or was anything improv?
It was scripted.
That's good. So Augusta, I'm going to go to you. In directing something like this, how do you direct somebody through a Zoom performance?
Well, I have to say about Carla that I was just amazed, but I trusted her. So I thought, because I had seen her do this performance, and on the day that we shot Carla, Kate was also there, and of course Eva and Dolores, our producers, were there, but Kate, who had worked with Carla a lot, was there. So that also gave me a level of comfort. But having said that, so much of that was shot just straight on with the camera right in front of Carla and a whole crew around her in a prison in Elizabeth, New Jersey. But still there was a level of which it was like, those actors doing crazy acting with like green screen goblins, that she had to really like not only be thinking about what she's seeing on the screen, but not seeing what was in front of her film crew. So,
and another, if I may interrupt.
Yeah, please.
During the filming, there was no typing on the screen.
Right.
I was hearing it read by Kate.
Yeah.
So that was another level of, because I was supposed to be looking at a certain spot where the typing would be, but we didn't, it was just a blank screen, a computer that wasn't even on.
Well, the computer wasn't even in front of you for most of the time. We were shooting straight on at you. I mean, we shot you from the side. Sometimes we had a computer there, but I'm just to say even further, how impressed I am with your ability to.
Wow.
So there was a lot of travel between ear, eye, inside, which by the time I was finished that day, it was like, who am I? Where am I? What am, that was, I guess, the main challenge for me that day.
When I watch this film, there's something that's intriguing. It reminds me of like a minimalistic play when you see like a performance on stage and there's a chair and like just blackness, and it is entirely focused on the performance. So had they not done their due diligence with casting and they picked someone less talented than you are, it was heavily weighed on this performance of the screen. I mean, we're not even getting full body shots. We're getting straight on camera work, which it's a risk in filmmaking, but it's also, if you can pull it off, you've done wonders. So I'm curious too, even about the location of this film. How did you guys, is this an active prison that you filmed in, or is this?
So the prison had just closed, Charles, and it was still partially active. So we were told that 10% of the prison still had prisoners.
Wow.
So we had to go through several checkpoints to actually get in. My producing partner is a location marvel and found this location. First of all, you have to find something that's in your budget. Then you have to find something that's in the mile radius so that people can actually travel there. And then you have to work with the state, because this was outside of New York, where we're all from and where we had intended to shoot. So they have their own permitting. But once we got in and we were able to kind of scout the location, it was clear that it was going to set the tone for the whole production. And even if we only had just a taste of B-roll, it was going to change everything. Not only for the viewer, but I think also for Carla. Once you're in that space, and you get a sense of what they're really dealing with and how big the room is that you're sleeping in, it really informs the whole world. So we were blessed to be in that space, and we actually have a real prison guard who we had to kind of like, nobody fit within the costume, and he was so imposing. So, as a producer, you ask, what if I just shoot you from the back? No one will know it's you. He's like, anybody who knows me will know it's me. I was like, okay. But, so we had an actual guard who escorted Carla in one of the shots, which was wonderful. And then we had guards helping us to open and close these doors, and sending cues so that we could get it on camera. So it was a great space to work in.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Is this the same guard that ended up on the poster or on the?
No, he's not. Only Carla is on the poster, but he's in what he's in. I think he's in 2 shots. Augusta, we see him walk.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he has 2 moments within our film, from the back. So, as promised, but it definitely sets the tone.
That's amazing. It's things like these. I actually had a Q&A with someone right before you guys, and he was saying that he was desperate in need of people, extras or character roles, and he was picking people off the streets, and he was trying to work with them. And I would never suggest that typically, but sometimes it just works out in the benefit of the filmmakers. So listen, guys, I know it's been a short 16 minutes, but we will come back on after 6 p.m. tonight. Thank you, ladies. I know we have the workshop. I hope you guys can join the workshop, and we'll be back on.
Charles, we use the same link?
I will send a different link.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Charles.
Okay.
And what time should we be thinking about it? At 6, after 6, or wait?
I would just say like 6:10.
Okay. 6:10? Okay, perfect.
All right, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Great.
All right, bye now.
See you then. Bye.